Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. Happy New Year to our friend Trader Cobb.
G'day, mate. Happy New Year to everybody out there too, and yourself, man.
How was your Christmas and News, mate? Did you have a break?
Oh, pretty busy, man. We Christmas was pretty laid back, to be honest. Went to the beach, got sunburnt, had a bit of food, spent a lot of time at the beach. Went up to the entrance on the Central Coast here and had a bit of a big lunch with some of the team, and spent a couple of days up there with the kids. And on New Year's Eve, I was in bed by 10 o'clock, like the raging party animal that I have been the last few years.
Yeah, I think I was in bed at 12:05, so there you go.
There you go. We're wild.
Now, today we want to talk about a few coins that are setting up well against Bitcoin and the USD. We're going to check them out, and I want to talk about this theme I think is going to play out a bit this year. And again, it's funny when I start to throw these names up and you're telling me that they're already crept into your watch list, and that's a few of the old favorites. So, do you want to start off with Bitcoin and then we'll dive into the altcoin pairs?
Yeah, sure, mate. Let me just chuck it up on the screen. All right, you can see that?
We'll go full screen, all good.
Beautiful. So, I mean, look, start of the year for me right now, it's really about this range, okay? It's derived off of the weekly chart here. Obviously, we've got a very strong downtrend, lower lows in the MACD, so it's convergent. Now, it just so happens to be the range is on this weekly candle. Look, I do think there's room for it to move back up in further. I'm certainly not suggesting that if we break there that we're, massively bullish at this stage. Very different to back in July when I suggested I was much more bullish and very vocal about that, whereas, at that stage we did have the monthly back in that cradle zone. If we have a look here, obviously where we were in July to where we are now, it's a very, very different picture being painted. So effectively, I think it might take a little while to see the volume come back to break this range. I'd love to see it break through the high for obvious reasons. I'd much prefer the whole market to go up. It'd be wonderful to have 2019 or even just a few months of really strong activity. But realistically, if we break above there, we've got a higher low to a higher high. We break below here, we have a lower high and a lower low. So on Bitcoin, that's kind of what I'm waiting for the time being. Your list starts with Qtum, right?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to run through a few of these projects that are old favorites that I don't think have really been hyped up much throughout any of these big bull runs, but they've been very busy building behind the scenes. And I think this year is going to be all about whoever has got a working product and has been busy building rather than who's got the, flashiest white paper or whatever it may be. So, yeah, that list I gave to you, Decred, Lisk, Komodo, Augur, Golem, Factum. Even Factum already had a bit of a run last year. So, which ones of those have sparked your interest?
Yeah, sure. Let's jump back up into here. Do that. For me, like I was watching Qtum the last few days. The only issue that I've got, like the daily is not quite for me the way I trade to, having an opportunity because I was looking at this on the 2 day, right? If you look at this on the 2 day, what you'll notice for those that are aware of what I call the cradle zone, it's pulled back into the cradle zone. There is a bullish candle there. It's not overly small, but it's not also that big. So the candle size is okay. The only issue I've got with it from a trading perspective is that, this is the first pullback effectively. So we've got a high. This is potentially the first higher low for the trend to then kick in. Now, on the daily, it's a bit clearer. You got a higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, but it's not really set up in there. So for me, it was a matter of watching that. I was hoping to see a bit of resistance come in on, say, the 4 hour to give a flat level for a breakout type trade. It's not quite there yet for me to, look to take a trade, but it's definitely got a bit more signs of life than many of the other projects out there. If we look at it against Tether here on Binance once again, very similar type of setup in the sense that it's pulled back in. The moving averages are not in the correct order on the 2 day just yet, but the daily, you can see the consolidation starting to form there. And again, it's just not got a perfect level for me at this moment in time, but that consolidation could produce opportunities for breakouts to the upside, and I'll be keeping an eye on that.
And I
So
think I was
go
just going to
on.
say the rest of the pairs you've got up there are against Bitcoin, and that's something that people can be aware of. If we are to get a prolonged period of sideways action for Bitcoin, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be trades to be had there. So trading against Bitcoin, because at the moment, if everything's correlated, if Bitcoin goes down, then Qtum and all these others are probably going to go down. But if you're trading against the Bitcoin pair, if they're doing good things, they can still go up and you can still increase your holdings of Bitcoin, as we know, even if Bitcoin's going sideways or down a little bit.
Well, Bitcoin going sideways is great. I mean, there was a period, if you recall, what was it, August through to October, really, that range that we had on Bitcoin. There was very little in the way of opportunity for trading against the dollar pairs. I like to stick in the top 10 for dollar pairs. I will go outside of that, but that's my preferred area because of the volume. It's just easy to get your trades on and no slippage or very little slippage. So a lot of the trading was done against Bitcoin. And the funny thing is that people go, oh, yeah, I only made 0.1 of a Bitcoin or 0.01 or whatever the number that they made, right? Okay, that's all I made. And it's like, yeah, but do you believe in Bitcoin? Because that trade now, you've put more Bitcoin in your pocket. You haven't really realized any profit into your hands or into your account, but we get back to $20,000 and that 0.1%, only a little bit of Bitcoin trade is worth $2,000.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it can pay you longer term. So I think it's something that people sort of skim over sometimes without any importance, but you've just got to reflect on where you think price will end up. And if part of that is building and holding Bitcoin, it's a really good way to trade.
Yeah, and I've done a detailed video about Satoshi versus dollar trading. And if you're trading to pay your bills each week, then you probably do want to increase your dollar amount. But if you're trading to increase your Bitcoin stack, then yeah, whatever your plan is, as we always say.
Yeah, exactly. So the next one's Decred. What do we got going on with Decred at the moment that you're happy with?
Oh, I don't talk
above and beyond.
I haven't been going in detail in the individual coins. It was more just these sort of 10 coins that are old favorites that I'm going to cover on the channel in more detail in the future. But I just interested for your opinion if any of them are standing out against the dollar or Bitcoin as a breakout trade.
All right, let me just jump back across and I'll go through the rest of the list then. So Decred against Bitcoin. I don't really have this against the dollar because it's a bit thin. It's not got much volume there to trade. And in all honesty, if we look at this on Binance with a better volume, I think Bittrex has more data because it's been listed there for longer. But it's just a bit choppy right now. Good thing, the only positives that I can sort of see is that it's stopped falling. It is getting messy. With Decred, there does tend to be a propensity for these big spikes, though. So if I just do DCR, BTC and go to the Bittrex chart, you'll note here that it does, see this? It does often have these big, now I know this one's not quite as extreme, but here's another one, a really explosive move up and then a sell-off. And when I see charts like that from a trading point of view, it does give me a little bit of caution because especially like if I'm going to go long, buy for it to go to the upside, I don't want to see those spikes to the downside. If they're always to the upside, then that's not quite, it's more palatable because it's going in the same direction. But
yeah,
there's not a great deal that's on my radar on Decred from a trading standpoint at this stage.
And for those people at home, we'll probably see a few more of these candles as we go through the list. But that means that someone's come in with a pretty big buy order, probably just a market buy order. And the order books are pretty thin. So it moves the price a lot and then jumps back down. And that's a good sign if someone's buying a lot of something, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So from Decred to Lisk, pretty similar to Decode, really. I mean, it's not really got that much going on at the moment. There is some support down around here. There's been some pretty strong move to the upside, but we need to see that sustained. You know what I mean? Like we moved up, we pulled back into that cradle zone really nice, and not suggesting a trading opportunity, but just the cyclicity of way it was working. It started to move, and then it got a bit heavy, and it's come off again. And we're seeing this, especially across with Bitcoin at the moment, across many of the alt markets. We're noticing that each day when I go through, there are very few that are actually trending really, really nicely and offering opportunity. So Lisk for me, not really one on my radar. Next is Komodo. And for those of you who know how I trade, you'll know that this is on my radar. And the simple fact that it's on my radar is because look, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, thump straight back into that cradle zone. And if I just add in that, you'll know, I know it's not an exact precise level, but have a look. Test one, very close there, 2, 3. Now, that's not a breakout type trade, but it's pulled back into an area where I would suspect it to find support. Very strong convergence, small bullish candle starting to form there. The 16-hour, yeah, I don't dig it. It's really, for me, on the daily. If that closes small and bullish, then that very well may fit the rules for a crypto cradle trade setup. So really, that's one of the ones on my actual watch list at the moment.
Beautiful.
So very nice trend.
Next up is Augur.
Yep. Let's get onto that one. Yeah, so here we go. Another one that I've been keeping an eye on. Again, coming back to what you said before about those spike candles, the orders. This is another one that does have a lot of spiking. Look at this. Down and up and down, and then the spike here, 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 here. I don't love it for that reason. There's a little bit of resistance coming up, but one of the things that I had pointed out to my members is this. We had seen it pull back into that cradle zone really, really nicely. Waiting for it on the 8-hour to get a little bit deeper in. But as you can see, a little bullish candle right there in the cradles, and it is breaking up. So if this is to continue, obviously, we'll see a continuation of that trend with good convergence. It really needs to clear these highs for it to get some blue sky, but definitely some signs there for Argor moving forward on the charts.
Cool.
Golem looking a bit solemn. Basically, there's some support there, big spike. Not a real fan of this chart right now. It's just a little bit. It looks a little bit confused on low volume, and not one that's really got me too interested.
Yeah.
Factum, of course, as we all know, had a very good run last year, running into the end of last year through November, December, and more or so through November. There were some fantastic trades throughout that period. All of which I didn't manage to get any, but I know a lot of guys and girls in the groups did. I mean, you can just see the cyclicity through here, pulling back, moving, and that's the sort of thing we're looking for. Of course, with it not being in that sort of a nice trend at the moment, it really is just a matter of waiting. But if you look at where it's pulled back to, we've had that massive overextension from the averages. It's pulled back into that area now, and that's what I'm watching on the weekly just to see how that sets up over the next week or two, if there's any likelihood of movement to the upside. And finally, PIVX, another privacy one here. I was watching this higher low, higher high, pulling back. It was the pullback in on the 1 hour I actually had in my watch list. I did a video on it yesterday. Where are we? There it is. I was watching through here. Waiting to see if we could get another retest up onto there for a potential Bitcoin breakout. Now, of course, it has broken down a little bit further there, so it's off my list right now. But as you see, we're getting back into that cradle zone. There is an uptrend. It does, when it moves, have the propensity to move really, really well. And the final one, which is bizarre, I haven't put it in there, is Binance Coin. So this one's been in my list for quite some time. As a matter of fact, this was the first trade I had looked at and sort of put out there as a trade that I would take this year. When I say take, I mean my first 1 or 2 trades, I don't put money on them because I need to get my head back in the game. But this was my first. It broke down, beautiful little cradle candle right there. Right now, I am watching this on the daily, a small bullish candle, which certainly present an opportunity there. So Binance definitely, probably the pick of the litter out of all of those for right now. So that's basically those, your top 10 or whatever you want to call them, based on the charts.
And Binance has been very busy fundamentally, but again, I don't want to go into that in too much detail. But one thing I do want to mention was those long candles to the upside or downside. If you've got some Bitcoin that's sitting on an exchange, or you've got your altcoins that are sitting there pretty dormant. Yesterday we had proof of keys day to encourage you to get most of your holdings in your own custody. But if you do have your trading altcoins, there's no harm in setting a really high sell order or a really low buy order, because the worst that can happen is you increase your amount of Bitcoin, or you get filled at a really low price for your Bitcoin. So again, it's all a bit of an art form, and I wouldn't do it with large amounts of money, but just something that can happen with those long candle wicks.
Yeah, absolutely. You can chip away.
Awesome. Well, anything else? Any final thoughts, mate? But that's been fantastic.
Not really, mate. I mean, Bitcoin's in a range. Ethereum's probably the strongest of the top 10 at the moment, which is pretty obvious. Trend-wise, market cap-wise, it's grown above Ripple again, which is nice to see. I don't know why that's nice to see, but it just feels good. And it seems to be trending quite nicely. So of the top 10 right now, my interest in trading is really sitting with Ethereum until Bitcoin can break out of that range, and just being patient, really. Awesome. Easing back into a new year.
Well, we'll check back in and see if any of those trades worked out. And guys, if there's any coins you want us to do a bit of fundamentals and technicals on, let us know in the description below. But Happy New Year, everyone, and have a good day.
Cheers, guys. Thanks very much. Bye for now.